Hello and welcome to the Global Dialogue. I'm Shereen Bhan. What began as an idea at the World Economic Forum 25 years ago has grown into a global vaccine alliance. Joining me now to talk about the future of Gavi is the chair of the board of Gavi, also the former Prime Minister of Portugal and the President of the European Commission, Mr. Barroso. Many, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. It's wonderful to have you with us on the program. Let's talk about the last 25 years before we talk about the next 25. A lot has been accomplished in terms of global health outcomes. As you sit here today and you look at this uncertain, very volatile world, perhaps a world in uncharted waters in many ways, what gives you hope, what gives you confidence, and what makes you very, very afraid?
Yeah. First of all, Shereen, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great opportunity to be here and to have the possibility to speak, to send my message to the Indian public, India being such an important partner of Gavi. What gives me confidence? Precisely our track record. Gavi has been a great global player on public health. It's one of the organizations that has the best reputation because people know that the dollars invested there brings real benefits. It's saving the lives of children. And I don't think there can be something more important in the world than saving the lives of millions of children. Mm-hmm. So our mission is itself the best argument we have, but also the way we have been doing it over 25 years. It's, I would say, consensus now that it's very effective, it's very efficient. For every dollar invested, you can get not only results in terms of public health, and that results saving lives of children, but also economic impact, because it's a way also of reinforcing the public health systems to have a working force, to have a more adaptable, more healthy, to have better society. So we have a great track record, and I think nobody disputes that. That is today, I say, a matter of convergence. So we believe we have a great case. And that's why, even if agreeing with you, we are living very challenging times from different points of view, I believe that when it comes to something that is a global public good, like public health, like immunization, there should be an agreement among the powers of the world, the richest but not the so richest countries, that they should continue to commit. If possible, they should reinforce the commitment for that great cause. It is vaccination, namely of the most vulnerable communities across the world.
You know, Mr. Barroso, you said that there should be agreement, there should be convergence, whether rich or poor countries to actually come together to take alliances like Gavi forward and, reinforce their commitments. Speaking of commitments, Gavi's coming up for its replenishment. You require $9 billion at this point in time. My last conversation with Bill Gates at the Goalkeepers event in New York, he said he was a spokesperson and a salesperson for Gavi. He said it would be criminal if the world couldn't get the funds together. Do you worry about being able to get the funds together to fund Gavi in its 25th year?
First of all, let me say that Bill Gates is more than a salesman. He has been a great contributor. As you know, he's on record saying that the best investment he ever made, his foundation made, was and is Gavi. And to have someone like him, with the great success he had, saying that is also the best possible endorsement we have of Gavi. Yes, I'm not denying that there are some challenges, but I believe the case is very strong, and I believe that we should continue with that goal. I know it's an ambitious goal given the current circumstances, but it's a goal that makes sense because from our perspective, because with that we will be able to double the pace of vaccination. We'll be able to vaccinate 500 more children in the next period. So next 5 years, more. 500 million more. Yes. I'm sorry, 500 million more. So it makes sense. So we are going to argue about this case. Yes, I've been doing that. I've been asking both the richest country in the world, emerging economies, and also one interesting thing is that Gavi, even the countries that are less rich, they contribute. So the idea is not to have them dependent forever. On the contrary, the idea is that they will contribute gradually, and that's an important model that we have at Gavi. And the donors like this. The idea is not to have forever dependency. Yes. So the countries, they start contributing, and one day they come from recipient to donors. Just to give an example, recently I was in Indonesia. I was with the President of Indonesia, and Indonesia until now has been being a net recipient of Gavi support, but for the first time they announced 30 million US dollars, a contribution among others. So, and the President of the Republic, in an improvised press conference with myself, he announced that contribution. And so this is important because we want everybody to contribute, because once again, it's a public good. As I always say, a virus does not need a visa to travel. So, and we may have a new pandemic. It's almost sure we are going to have new pandemics. We don't know how and when, but they will appear. So I like next time the world has a big pandemic like the terrible COVID-19, that we are better prepared, that we have funds so that we can immediately act for the most vulnerable countries. So I think the case is very, very strong, and I hope that at the end of the day, the donors, the traditional donors, G7 countries and others, but also new donors, will say, present, we are here. We believe that's an important responsibility that we also have.
But do you still feel confident about the U.S. continuing to be a donor, given the fact that President Trump has decided to retreat from multilateral institutions, whether it's the WHO or, in fact, disband U.S. aid, which has been providing developmental aid across the world, including in sectors like health? Look,
until now, the moment we are speaking, we have not received any negative reference to Gavi from the new administration. And the last time we got the interaction with the United States, the previous Trump administration, in fact, it was a bipartisan support to Gavi. It was a very generous support to Gavi because it was during COVID in the transition from the Trump to the Biden administration. So I hope that the same commitment will last. At least I think we have very strong arguments, and we have in the United States people that understand that on both sides of the Congress.
Let's talk a little bit about India and Gavi and India's role and relevance for Gavi's future in the next 25 years as you see them. You've just met with the Health Minister, J.P. Nadda. India's also seen its transition from, being a recipient to now also being a donor, as well as home to a significant manufacturer, Serum Institute, and many others. What's the role that you see India play as far as the next 25 years for Gavi is concerned?
So I'm delighted that you mentioned that meeting with Minister J.P. Nadda, because in fact it was a great meeting. I was very happy to see how committed the minister on behalf of the government of India is to the mission of Gavi. And in fact, he promised support. I'm not going to now enter in details, but he promised that India will say present about the support to Gavi. India is a great partner. It's one of the most important partners of Gavi. First of all, because of the huge dimension of the country. We cannot reach the goals of vaccinating the world's children without India being part of it. And India has been increasing a lot its own domestic action for vaccination. Today I visited one of the most important hospitals here.
The Satyajang Hospital.
Exactly, here in Delhi. And I was impressed to see the modernization of the platforms, digital platforms, including the more modern in the world now, that gives you a instantaneous record of what's going on, vaccinating the children and also some pregnant women in real time, all over the country. That's amazing. So, and this is something that also India can contribute to the rest of the world. Not only the global south, not only South-South certainly, right, but also some of the most developed countries in the world can benefit from the know-how that we find here in India. So by the huge impact that India has, it's already a great contribution. You mentioned also, because of the manufacturing capabilities, the country where we buy more vaccines is India. We estimate it around 60%. And we buy it here, why? Because it's good, so quality and cost benefit. So that's also a contribution that we very much appreciate. At the same time, let's be frank, that's also very good for the Indian economy, for the Indian technology, for the Indian brand, I would say, in this world. And of course, we would like now to have India to contribute financially, according to its dimension and according to, of course, to its commitment. I think that's a great time for India to show leadership. India has shown that leadership, for instance, during G20, we are very grateful because during G20 it was immediately, we are seeing still the effects of COVID. It was important that the political leaders of the world did not forget about public health. Yes. Let me be a little bit, as a former politician, I can say it, sometimes the attention span of political leaders is very short. Yes. People care when things are in the news, but afterwards they don't care so much. I say that as a former politician. But it was great that India said, no, let's keep the attention for the future, because some more pandemics may come. They will certainly come. So let's continue to give a high priority to the issue of pandemic preparedness. And so we are grateful for the great cooperation that we had, Gavi, with India. So that was the message I conveyed to the minister and to the government of India. I also invited the government to be present in our replenishment. And so I got a very positive feedback. So I hope that India will use this opportunity, not only for what has been doing domestically. For instance, that was great progress, I think, in terms of reduction of so-called zero-dose children. There was very important reduction of children that have never been vaccinated. So many lives that have been saved. So avoiding through vaccination diseases that are preventable. But also now India, the minister confirmed to me that it's going to launch HPV vaccination, so important for girls, for women and for girls, already this next month of May, something where we are also partnering. So Gavi has been a great partner of India as well. We have been supporting India massively, and I think now we can even have a stronger partnership for the future, not only in financial terms, which is of course important, but also in terms of leadership, the ideas, the innovation. India can be a hub also of innovation, manufacturing innovation, and also a good example. In fact, we see, to be honest, we see India as a model in our relationship to countries that are transitioning, if I may use the word, transitioning from just developing countries to implementing countries to donor countries, countries that are contributing to the rest of the world.
So have you managed to get a commitment from the minister before you leave India?
Yeah, commitment of good intention and support, yes, but we are not going to the details of the precise contribution. But yes, the intentions are there, and I fully trust that it's a real goodwill we can see here in India towards Gavi.
Well, we are going to take a break here on the Global Dialogue and return to our conversation with the Global Chief of Gavi to talk about the road ahead for the Vaccine Alliance over the next 25 years. Welcome back. You're watching the Global Dialogue, and we're talking about where Gavi, the Global Vaccine Alliance, is headed over the next 25 years. You talked about India being the hub and an incubator of sorts as far as innovation is concerned, especially with the work that's happening here with companies like Serum, etc., companies that you've been closely associated with through Gavi. What do you believe stands out from an affordable, accessible, frugal innovation perspective?
Look, what stands out is that we are operating in a very, let's say, competitive market all over the world. And for some reason, Gavi, it was even before I joined, so I can say that with complete independence, Gavi has decided that many or most of its procurement was done in India because, of course, we follow the highest standards in terms of quality. We don't compromise on quality. We only buy vaccines that have been previously certified by the WHO and with the highest standards. And India has been able to produce at scale those vaccines with quality and with a price that is convenient. Because afterwards what we do is that we give those vaccines, or we mostly give to the vulnerable countries of the world. Others, they also give a contribution. So that's evidence that India has been able to do it, because if not, we will not be able to procure so many of our vaccines. And it's a huge number of vaccines done here in this country.
You know, speaking about future priorities as far as Gavi is concerned and the impact that you hope to make, what will be the areas that you intend to prioritize? Malaria, I would imagine, will continue to be right up there on the table as one of the key focus areas for you. India is now going to be playing a part through Serum as far as the malaria vaccine is concerned. You know, line up for me the areas that you would like to prioritize as you look ahead.
First of all, we have to keep the good work done. So the so-called routine immunization. We have this set of diseases that from polio to measles that it's already become a routine. We have to vaccinate the children all over the world. Besides that, in terms of new priorities, you highlighted one precisely. So malaria. It's amazing the demand, the interest there is. I've been speaking, for instance, with many African leaders, presidents of, and they were asking me, when can we have that vaccine? How can we do so? Even if it's still relatively soon to measure all the impact, there is a huge interest because it's, in many countries in Africa, the number one cause of death. So it's amazing. So that's a priority. Another priority I already mentioned, it's HPV for girls, for children, but specifically for girls. That's another priority. And of course, we are following with our friends from other organizations some new vaccines and developments in some areas. For some, it's important impact of climate change. You know, some people are still skeptical about it, but they are wrong. In fact, we see now that for dengue is that's quite clear now that we have diseases that are coming up and viruses that are now being more, let's say, supported by this climate change. Because and so we are also looking at those new developments and prepare for other needs that may arise. Another important, it's not specifically for a vaccine, but it's a priority for our action, is what we call vaccine preparedness. So to be sure that when the next pandemic comes, because sooner or later there will be new pandemics, that we are equipped. And how can we be? If we have the funds already in reserve for a pandemic, we can immediately start procuring vaccines for the poorest countries in the world. This is very important because last time, as you know, even if there was progress compared to other situations, when COVID-19 came, the reality is that was a problem of inequity. Because the richest countries, they were able to buy, sometimes they bought 5 times more vaccines than they needed, while others, they could not, they don't have the money. So it took some time for us to be able to mobilize those resources. Now, with a pandemic fund, but also with some instruments inside Gavi, we believe we can be ready for next time. And once again, this is a matter not only of justice, of solidarity, a moral matter, and I believe this is important, to reaffirm some values, moral values. So inequity is not good, so we need to try to promote solidarity, but it is also a matter of self-interest, including of the developed countries, because it's about health security. When a rich country is investing in vaccines for the so-called developing world or the global south, it's investing also for their own health security. Now, a lot, as you know, people are speaking in the world about wars. Wars, and people say we have to invest more in security. That's a good example. Let's invest in health security. That's also part of security. No, I mean it now. I mean it. It's a matter of security.
No, I totally agree with you, by the way. But my question to you, and I ask you this as you said, as a former politician, that you're fiscally constrained and your attention spans are shorter, and at this point in time it seems like the pandemic has been put on the back burner, and trade wars and inflation and defense spending are on the table as key priorities.
But that's why if politicians give so much importance to the issues of security, they should give also part of their attention to health security, because human security in general, it's a matter. And as you know, the virus does not respect border. The next time we have a huge pandemic, we cannot say, okay, the virus stays there. It can, as we have seen during COVID-19, it was all over the world. North, south, east and west, rich, poor, all countries were affected, as you know. So it's a matter of security. But also, I think the role of all of us, and I'm speaking to you, and hope to reach many people here in India. Our goal is not just to criticize the politicians, but also to call their attention to the goal of the society. It's not the politicians at the end of the day, and as you said, I've been a politician for many decades of my life.
Not just a politician, a former prime minister.
A former prime minister and president of the European Commission.
Yes.
And they are attentive to what people think. If the society conveys to them, look, this is a matter, this is a serious matter, you should think about it. I think it matters. My experience is that it matters. For instance, what you, if I may say, of course, we respect the independence of the media, but the attention the media can give to these matters is critically important because politicians say, no, this matter is important. And namely in democracies, they have to care about what the majority of people think. So yes, I believe that we have a great case and we can help the politicians take the right decisions.
Well, speaking of politicians taking the right decisions, I wanted to get you to wear your former European Commission hat and talk to me about how you see the world today. We're in the midst of a global reset on account of what's going on in the US. What is your chief concern as you look at the many, many events that have already taken place in less than a month in office?
I'm concerned, of course. I'm in favor of stability. I'm in favor of peace. I'm in favor of the world going together. And precisely, I've embraced this mission. It's something I've been doing pro bono since 2020 because I believe that besides our national interests, and of course we love our countries, but there is a difference between patriotism and nationalism. Patriotism is to love what belongs to us, to our community. But nationalism in the sense of aggressive nationalism is the hate of others. I don't like that. We have to have a patriotism that is open to others. We have to understand that we are, of course, proud Indians or Portuguese or French or German or American or Chinese or Russian. It's perfectly legitimate to love our country, but at the same time not to hate the others, to understand the others. I think I have very deep commitment to this idea. And precisely on the field of immunization, that's a good example where you can show that compassion for others. And that has an important meaning. So in this world now, what I see, there is a push for more nationalism, for more protectionism, for more isolationism, and I don't like that, I have to say, honestly. But as chairman of Gavi, I have no ideology except this one. So, of course, I have my own political views, and that's quite clear. Having said that, as chairman of the board of Gavi, my goal is to put the world together in this field. And I have to work and respect countries from different regimes, different ideologies, to try to focus on the mission. The mission is save the lives of children, namely of the most vulnerable countries. This is our mission. Afterwards, there are different regimes. Of course, some I may like more, some I may like less, but that's not my goal in this role. But to be honest, to answer your question, yes, I'm concerned. And precisely because my argument is precisely because I see some decoupling going on globally, I think it is important for mankind to show that, at least in some areas, we are able to continue to work. Multilateralism makes sense. And this is not an idealistic thing. No, it's very realistic because when it finds to fight a pandemic, we cannot close off. We cannot say your side of the boat is sinking. We are all sinking if we don't respond to the issue. So I think it makes sense. And so my goal, precisely because the world is becoming more challenging, I believe more cooperation in some fields like this one, where we have a clear global public good, public health, saving lives of children, it makes sense and it should be not only kept but also reinforced.
So let me end by asking you, Mr. Barroso, is it mission impossible to get leaders to come together as you co-host that meeting with the EU in Brussels later in 2025?
No, I think it's one of the roles of politics is to make possible what it is necessary. And this is necessary. I would say even it's indispensable. So the goal of a real politician is to make it happen.
Well, we do wish you the very best of luck, and we do hope that you do indeed make it happen and raise the kind of money that you require to ensure that Gavi continues to do the work that it has been doing over the last 25 years. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing more of you back here in India. Thank you very much for joining us. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the Global Dialogue. From all of us here on the team for now, goodbye, and many thanks for watching.